Today I'm going to show you the best way to find crashed ships in No Man's Sky 2020. This guide is the product of many hours of testing, most of which I have released as a 3-part series which I'll link below. So let's go over how to efficiently and consistently hunt crashed ships. There are 2 primary methods for hunting crashed ships. Which one of these you do will depend on how much time you want to spend on it. The first method is using your Nautilus submarine exocraft. This is by far the weakest method, but is still fully viable. The Nautilus can be gained very early on by just following the Awakenings questline until you are able to build exocrafts. You can do the Into the Deep questline, and I recommend you do it at some point as it's a great set of missions, but it isn't required for hunting crashed ships with the Nautilus. You'll want to build a minimum of the scanner tech and the engine with some nice S-Class engine upgrades, just to speed things up. As with most things, you'll get the blueprints for the buildable tech from missions and or the researcher in the Nexus. If you want to make life easy for yourself, then purchase the buildable exocraft summoning room for your freighter from the Nexus construction terminal. It's not the cheapest thing to build for the blueprint or the room itself, but it's very useful. You'll also want to either stick to yellow star systems or upgrade your freighter's warp drive to be able to be summoned in other star colours. Once you are all set up, just find a planet with lots of water and fly towards an ocean on the planet. Land on a small island or the shore and summon your Nautilus, then just scan for drowned ships. There are some pros and cons to this. One big pro is that these ships are underwater, so they will never have an NPC by it who needs help, and so making that crashed ship impossible to obtain. A huge con, however, is that there is no way to let No Man's Sky know that you have been to a site already. Taking the ship and interacting with the distress beacon won't tick any boxes. This means that when you scan for a third crash site from the second crash site, it will almost certainly send you right back to the first site. A way to get around this annoyance is to only do 2 scans in a row, as risking the third scan isn't worth it, as in order to scan for a new site later, you'll need to visit the waypoint to get it off your screen. After your second scan in a row, get in your ship and fly a minimum of 2 to 3 minutes toward more open water. If you want to get nice and technical, you can use beacons to mark your first scan location, then shoot up into space and more easily know where you have scanned previously. You can have up to 5 beacons per planet, so this is good for generally 10 crashed ships. Though you will need to either pick them all up after, or have 5 parts forever taking up residence in your save file. After all, we only get 20,000 buildable items per save. Also note that after scanning in the Nautilus to get the crashed ship's site, it is beyond quicker to jump in your ship and fly there. Using your sub to travel there will increase your hunting time by a factor of 10 or more, and there are always small islands nearby. Lastly, as far as marking crashed ship site goes, no other players will see your beacons unless they are within the buildable area of a player base that you have uploaded. Other players on your platform can, however, see your comm stations, but you are restricted to 1. Any extras you place on that planet will override the original. So when marking crashed ship sites, note down the portal address and the lat and long coordinates, and be sure to mention the galaxy if sharing with the community. Now for that second superior method. This is using a void egg. The general idea is that you use the void egg to get a waypoint to a living ship. Living ships are found crashed on planets, but it's not that simple. They are only found when using a void egg to find them. This is because they are found at standard crashed ship sites, and are a sort of variant of that site. Each crashed ship site has 2 ships that will spawn there. One is the standard crashed ship that will either be a shuttle, hauler, fighter, explorer or exotic, and the second is a living ship. This means that by cycling living ships with the void egg, we can note down the lat and long coordinates of all of these crashed ship sites and then visit them later to see what standard ship is crashed there. There are ways to make this super efficient and a number of things to avoid. On top of that, it will require some time investment to get there if you aren't already at this stage of the game. First of all, a void egg will cost you 3,200 Quicksilver. Quicksilver can only be obtained from a daily Nexus mission and the weekend Nexus event. This requires 8 days, due to 8 dailies each giving 250 Quicksilver and 1 weekend mission giving 1,200. Also, if you have not done the initial living ship questline with your first void egg, that mission has 4 time locks in it, each being about 24 hours. In my opinion, it's worth it, but I can see why some disagree. This time investment is why I also included the Nautilus method, as without it, this really is the best. If you are in the initial mission for Living Ship, then you can start hunting for crash ship sites after the 4th time lock, when you have a filled soul chamber and have returned through the portal but not yet got in your ship. Getting in your ship will give you a hail, but don't worry, you can refuse this hail if you wish to switch systems to hunting. If you have already completed that mission, then just buy another void egg. Build a save point on a planet, then continue the quest, or if you just bought another, then just head into space and pulse in your ship until you are hailed by a rare encounter. Carry on with this until you find a crash living ship, then record its lat and long, then reload and keep doing that until you have a nice big list of crash sites to check out. Then just check them out. Some of these sites will have NPCs at them, but it's not so many that it will really cream your corn. Also, when revisiting these sites, you can really speed things up by listing your recorded crash site in order of location. This isn't the easiest thing to do just by eye, but is made more efficient the more crash sites you have recorded. A tool to auto-magically order your crash sites to the most efficient is on my list to code, but don't expect it too soon. Another swish tip is that when travelling between each crash site, you should narrow down the coordinates in order of right to left, so do the second coordinate first. This is increased and decreased by travelling what you'd perceive to be east and west. Once you have got your second of the 2 chords correct, you can then either travel directly north or south to increase or decrease that number. Having the north and south markers on your HUD means you won't easily veer off the second coordinate when changing the first, and so won't have to make annoying adjustments once close. Also do all of your travelling just under the barrier between the planet's atmosphere and space. At this altitude you will travel incredibly fast, but still be able to see the coordinates on your ship's HUD. Not only that, but once you get to the correct coordinates, you can simply look down for a bird's eye view of the area to far more easily see the crash ship site below you. One final note would be that every S-Class ship is worth scrapping, unless of course you want to keep it. S-Class ships scrap very well for procedural tech, and will usually net you just under or well over 1000 nanites, which is a pretty sweet byproduct. If you are playing a very early game save, then scrapping A-Class ships, or just ships with lots of slots, could be useful. The more slots and the higher the class it is, the more it is worth in units. And that, good people, is your lot. If you are new to Xaine's World, consider subscribing for news, guides, let's plays and the weekly Sunday survival livestream, and be sure to ring the bell to make sure you're notified. If you want to help support the work I do, liking, sharing and commenting does wonders, but I also have a Patreon, YouTube membership and a Teespring merch store with comfy tees, hoodies and even a Beppis receptacle. And lastly, a website that is updated constantly and a Discord where we all chill and talk about games, all linked in the pinned comment below. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day, folks.